You lie to me, keep saying I'm your everything. Lie to me, act like you would.
Hey there. Firstly, I want to apologize because while I was off camera, I already did my eyebrows. I'm getting so used to not recording. I mean, not that I was doing it a lot before, but I really want to try and film more because it's a fun hobby, especially when I'm doing it with makeup. So I apologize that I did this off camera, but the rest of my face is prepped and ready to go for a get ready with me. I wanted to do a natural look and I wanted to tell a story that happened, it's 2019, 4 years ago. It is a Tinder story, so it's gonna be quite entertaining for some and very sad for others. It was definitely very sad for me when it happened to me, but other than these brows, I'm gonna get started. So since I did my brows, I'm just gonna move on to doing foundation. Actually, since this is a natural look, I'm gonna go ahead with concealer first and mix it in with foundation first because I want to make my under eyes look not so dead. So the story. In June, I think, of 2015, I was on Tinder and I met this guy. Well, I started talking to this guy who was in the Air Force, and that's all I'm gonna say. We'll call him Greg. We'll call him Greg. So Greg was in the Air Force, and you know, like, he's a busy guy. I mean, I guess when you're in that line of service, you're generally a pretty busy person, which is totally fine. But as you will find out in the story, this wasn't the case. He was just a sneaky little bastard, okay? Like, I think about it now, and if I ever met someone like him, or I met him specifically now at 23, oh, there would be hell. So I met him for like coffee or lunch or something. I think it was lunch. And he seemed nice enough, honestly. Like, I thought he was nice, and as an international kid, it felt nice to talk to someone who spoke English. I was still brushing up on my Japanese at the time, so you can only imagine how refreshing it felt to be speaking to someone in English completely. He had just moved there the previous summer, just like I did, so we had that in common. We were talking about, you know, just like our lives and stuff. He seemed nice enough at first, but I feel like over time he just, I don't know, he became like a person that wasn't like the guy that I first met. So the whole summer we were talking. He was really nice, really, you know, like, he messaged me every day, he talked to me every day. He never wanted to meet up again after the first time we had that date, and I don't know if it's because he was actually busy like he said he was, or because he was using it as an excuse to be like, oh, I can, you know, somehow treat this girl like crap. I don't know what guys are thinking, honestly. But after a while, we started talking about potentially meeting up, and every time we talked about it, it was like it couldn't happen because something always came up last minute. Like, he had to go on he had to go to like a meeting or something, which, okay, I guess sometimes meetings happen last minute. It's not 100% of the time. So I started to get really annoyed, and finally I had to come back to Malaysia for the summer, and so I told him that I was going to be gone for like a month and a half, to which he was like, okay. So then eventually he actually said that we should meet up before I leave. I was actually really excited at the time, and the day that he came over to my apartment, I had to go pick him up from the train station because I think it's a station he's never been to before, and I lived kind of on the outskirts away from the city, so I did have to like go pick him up. I went to the ticket gate to pick him up, and as soon as he saw me, he was just like, oh my god, that was a really long train ride. It took so long to get here. And you know, you meet up with a girl and, you know, like, ask her to meet up or whatever, you want to go out with her, you don't tell her how long it took to get to her, you know? Like, I feel like that's the first sign that I should have seen coming, that he was going to be a total douche, but I didn't, because I apparently like to believe in the good in people, which is a bad quality sometimes because people take advantage of that. I just apologized and I was like, I'm so sorry, like I know it's far, but you're here now, to which he didn't say anything. And we walked back to my place kind of in silence, and he was just like looking at the surroundings, I guess, of where I lived. And I don't know, it was just like really weird for me because he was just totally beside himself, totally like, oh my god, I can't believe like you made me come this far. And I still don't know how he could say that to me, and I was still like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. Christina, you dumb fuck. So we get back to my place and we kind of just settle in, and I think you can imagine what happened. Funny side note, earlier that weekend, I think, or something, I was with my dad's driver. Like my dad has an office in Tokyo. It's not his company, but like he works for a company that has an office in Tokyo. And I was talking to him because I think he was taking me somewhere, maybe to the clinic or something, I can't remember. He messaged me earlier that day before I picked up Greg, and he was like, oh, Christina, I just wanted to let you know that when I go pick you up for the airport, yes, this was the day that I was leaving for summer vacation. He was like, when I go pick you up at the airport, the new like Tokyo director of the company wants to meet you. And I was like, oh shit, okay, but I have a Greg over. Obviously Greg wasn't at my place at the time, but I told him that I had plans to meet up with this Greg guy, and he was like, yeah, I know, that's why I'm telling you ahead of time, so you know like when to get rid of him and stuff, and you can, you know, save face. Honestly, that driver was so sweet to me the entire time I lived in Japan. He was always interested in what I'd been up to on the weekends and stuff, and he generally just really cared about me. He got me a birthday present for my 20th birthday. In Japan, the legal age, like to drink, to smoke, whatever, to own any land, to have a gym membership even, you have to be 20. So on my 20th birthday, he got me a watch, and when he gave it to me, he was like, oh, you become like an adult now. And honestly, that was the sweetest thing ever. Like I didn't even expect him to get me a gift. I digress. Me and Greg were just like hanging out at my place afterwards, and then I told him that I was gonna leave, and he was like, okay, have a safe flight and stuff. And then I mentioned to him, I'm like, hey, we should talk about what this is and what we're doing and stuff. And he kind of just didn't say anything. He kind of nodded and was like, okay, yeah, sure, when you come back. And I was like, okay, great, he wants to talk about it. That's a good sign, right? No. See, the thing is, what I didn't know at the time was he only said he wanted to talk, but I don't think he actually wanted to. I leave, I spend a month and a half here, and while I'm here, I'm still talking to him, which is fine, but I had no idea what was gonna hit me. I had no idea what shitstorm was gonna hit me, and it was just really sad now that I think about it. What happened when I got back to Tokyo was that I think it was already like the week before the semester started or something, so it was end of September. What happened was he wasn't responding as much to my messages, not as much as he was in Malaysia anyway, and not only that, but he would outright ignore my messages. And you know when someone's ignoring you. He also had like red receipts on, which is so stupid. Like, you know you're not wanting to answer someone, but you leave on your red receipts. Like, how dumb can you be? So I was like, hey, listen, we really need to talk because I think something's going on that you're not telling me. And he was like, okay, fine, let's talk. So we're talking about potentially dating and stuff, and I told him that I wanted to date him and stuff, and he obviously did not seem like excited or happy or anything. This was over the phone, so like, or like over text or something, so I have no way of knowing what his face looked like when I was saying all this. It was very obvious that he didn't really want me saying all these things, and in a second you will understand why. When I was, you know, talking about the whole relationship thing, he said that he was afraid of getting into a relationship. And earlier in our mini relationship, he's telling me that his ex-girlfriend had broken up with him about 2 years ago. Like the last time he was in a relationship was 2 years ago, which I thought, okay, fine, like some people, they take a while to get back into relationships. I think I'm probably one of those people too. If a guy says that he's been cheated on or whatever one time before, or he's been in a relationship one time before and that girlfriend hurt him, do not trust him. Because honestly, with this whole like guys scamming girls into sleeping with them thing, in terms of getting sympathy, in terms of hooking up and stuff, that is one of the main ways in which you know someone is a fuckboy. There's no way that it's been 2 years since she broke up with you, she's moved on, she's dating someone else, and you are not over her. There's just no way. The thing is, at the time, I didn't really understand what was going on. I thought maybe he was saying that because she broke up with him or whatever, that he was hesitant to get back into a relationship because, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. Like, I think about it now and I'm like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I was a dumb fuck. Eventually, he just tells me that I'm misunderstanding, that I don't actually know what's going on and stuff, which, okay, if you tell me that I don't know what's going on and you don't want to tell me, that's gonna drive me fucking insane. Like, why wouldn't you ever want to tell me what's going on unless you're trying to hide something? Which I think at that point I kind of sensed, and I was like, okay, what's really going on? What is this really about? Because you said before I left, you know, like, you agreed that we should talk. He was obviously avoiding it. He was avoiding it. He didn't want to talk about it, but I kept pushing because I want answers. I want to know what the hell's going on. And eventually he said I misunderstood him when he talked about his ex-girlfriend, but he was basically saying that the reason I misunderstood him was because he had never actually gotten over her. And so I asked him, I'm like, wait, so when you, like, you know, slept with me and stuff, you weren't over her? And he's like, no, like, when she left this big hole and void in my life and I can't seem to fill it and stuff. Like, basically a bullshit fucking excuse being like that. And at the time I was really, like, for one thing, I was really surprised, because to me it was like, why would this be something that you hide from me in the first place? Like, I asked him within like the first couple weeks that I knew him, like, you're over her, right? And he said he was. Fucking liar. I'm there on the phone reading these messages. You know, the guy doesn't even have the courtesy to call me, and I'm like, holy shit, I got played. And he's trying to justify himself. He's trying to be like, oh, I know how that must feel. And I told him, like, you lied to me, because he did, because I asked him, like, are you over her? And he was like, yeah. If you're not over someone, just say you're not over someone. You don't have to go into detail. Just say, hey, there's someone in my life that I'm not quite over, and be done with it. That's literally all you have to do. And he's like, I never lied about liking you, which felt like such a cop-out. So I was like, you still fucking lied to me? Honestly, I think I've blocked out some of these some of this part of the story, because it was so traumatizing and so upsetting that I think my brain was just like, I don't want to think about it anymore. Eventually, while I was asking him all these questions, like, why did you lie and stuff, he stopped replying, you know, typical. I think it was too much. And my friend, a friend of mine, she actually asked me, like, oh, how did it go? And I didn't want to answer. I told her, like, I don't feel like talking about it. When your friends talk shit like that, it's not really something you want to hear, honestly, because you had just gotten hurt. You know, the first thing you want to hear is not, oh, but he was a dick anyway. The first thing you want to hear is love and support. So I told her I didn't really want to hear it, and she let it be. And I'm pretty sure I cried a little bit or a lot before I went to sleep that night. And the next morning I woke up, I suddenly remembered that he basically admitted, oh, like, I never got over my ex. I woke up and he had basically, you know, everything that happened the night before, it just came rushing back. And I was really upset, obviously, for good reason. And I was like, I don't want to remember this. I don't know what to do. I almost didn't get out of bed that day, because the memory of what he said about her, how he never got over her and shit, it stung. It really stung. And I was just like remembering how he called her by her nickname. Her name was like, I can't remember what her name was, but he had a nickname for her, and then he called her by that nickname. And I was just like, why the fuck are you telling me this? Like, at the time, obviously, I was really sad, because I felt like this guy was kind of making me like a second choice, which, you know, is never good. The next couple weeks, I was actually trying to talk to him more just to get some closure. And I came to the hard lesson that sometimes people won't give you closure. Sometimes they will hurt you, they won't say sorry, but most of all, they will not let you move on from it. They won't. And God knows why. God knows why there are people like this. It was hard. It was very hard for me for obvious reasons. Like I had a thing with this guy and I actually wanted to date him, and then all of a sudden he's telling me like, I don't want to date because I'm not over my ex, even though I lied to you about it. And you know, that's really disheartening, and that's really just something you do not want to hear. That's not an ideal way for you to get your heart broken, honestly. Some people might argue and say that like, oh, but like you weren't officially dating. Like, yeah, we weren't, but we were on the way there. Why couldn't he have told me from the start that he didn't see a future, that he didn't see us dating or anything? I feel like if he had just given me the closure that I needed, then I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. So, cause like after him, I was really upset with guys in general for a really long time. Anytime a guy looked at me, I felt like killing him. I'm not exaggerating. Like I really felt like I could kill him. And that's really sucky, especially if like you somehow end up in a new relationship, which I did eventually, but that's a whole different story. So I think it was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this guy, he appeared on my people you may know. I know Facebook has some kind of algorithm with this stuff, but I really felt like, really, I may know him. I noticed his photo was with a woman in white, and I thought to myself, no, this can't be happening. So I go to his Facebook profile and I found out that yes, it can be happening. He actually got married. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he got married about, I want to say in 2016 actually. I'm not sure, but it wasn't that long before I saw the photo. Like I saw it during the summer. I think they got married in April, and I was livid. Like, it's not because I wanted him or like I wanted to marry him or whatever. Like I had no intention of marrying him. I wanted to date him, yeah, but marriage was like a whole different deal. But I felt angry because he kind of got away with what he did, and that to me is just unforgivable. Like, he did all these things to me. He broke my heart, and I'm supposed to just forgive what he did. He gets married. Sometimes marriage doesn't always equate a happy ending, but it's obviously his happy ending. And I felt like it was so unfair that this guy who basically amplified my trust issues, he gets to have a happy ending by getting married, and here I am. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm okay with where I am in life right now, but I just felt like it was so unfair that he got away with what he did. It just felt like a big slap in the face, honestly. How is it that he's able to do this to me and live his best life or whatever, and I'm stuck with knowledge about him that I don't really want to know anymore? I still know his birthday. It's not like I check or anything. It's just I remember the weirdest thing. So I remember his birthday. He was a Virgo cusp. Should have seen it coming. Honestly, I think about it now and I'm like, wow, girl, you should have seen that coming. Basically, what this whole thing taught me was that, I don't know, not to trust people so much, I guess. Definitely, this whole experience, I think it had to have been felt, because otherwise how would I know what I wanted or what I didn't want? Because before I met him, if a guy mentioned an ex-girlfriend, I would be like, oh, okay, but it's in the past. Ironically, I think it was probably like the universe's way of telling me like it's not always in the past, and this guy is proof of it. I have a little trick that my friend taught me that I've been trying, and honestly, it's been working really well. Basically, you take a matte lipstick. Mine is Beautybakerie. I can't remember what shade this is. It doesn't have the sticker. I think it's Versailles. And I just outline the outer parts of my lips, because what it does is that it keeps your lipstick from disappearing throughout the day. So since it's a matte lipstick, it'll keep the other lipstick in line. The other lipstick I'm gonna use is Smashbox. It's called Safe Word, and it's matte, but it's like a creamy matte, so it's not drying or anything. So I'm just gonna pop this on. There are some things I did not think through when I was doing this video, and one of them is that even though I like put lip balm on my lips, they're still freaking crusty ass. I feel like I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? I don't know what I'm forgetting. Oh my god, is this it? Is this the whole fucking look? Oh no, okay. I was gonna actually add a pop of color. Even though this is a natural look, this is for the most part natural. I actually wore this look the other day when I had a job interview. It's very, I mean, not that they complimented my makeup or anything, but just if you didn't know what makeup look to do, or like if you wanted to wear a little bit of makeup, this would definitely be something you'd wear to a job interview. But I wanted to add a pop of color because I was kind of inspired by Kylie's pink look. I'm gonna have to find a photo of it again and put it there, but I don't know, I just kind of wanted to try it. I've always sucked at these kinds of things, but anyway, this is the Dream Street palette, and I'm going into this color here. Anyway, this is the Dream Street palette, and I'm going into this color here, which is, this is Sweet Dreams, and I'm just gonna pop it here in my inner corner. I realized maybe I should have wet the brush, but I'm committed, so I'm doing this now. I'm just blending it there. I have another brush actually, but I can't freaking find it. I think I might have left it on campus or something. No, yeah, I left that brush on campus, so we're gonna have to settle with this one. Honestly, I need a new freaking table, because having a table on the side here and the camera here, it's hard because I'm constantly like going here and there, here and there. I don't know, maybe if I develop this skill of mine even more, maybe. This is basically the final look. As you can see, it's very natural. It's, you know, got a little bit of pop color there. And as for the story, well, that's just another cup of tea that I wanted to give about, you know, about my my adventures back when I was living in Japan. I mean, there's a bunch of them, which I guess I will get to later on, but that's one of the biggest ones I wanted to talk about, just because it's so crazy and it's so ridiculous that he acted like, I don't know, I was the one at fault maybe for falling for him, which is so fucking dumb. God, men are trash. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video and listening to my stories. I will see you when I see you. Bye. But I do think that it was very odd. He was telling me that his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, where is my bronzer? What? Oh. It was under the mirror. I'm looking for my lip liner now and I can't find it. Oh my god. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Which is... oh god, what color is it? What color is this? I don't know. Thank you for staying patient. Oh, god. Thank you for being patient with me as I film these videos and talk. Are you kidding me? Who the... Thank you so much for... I can't. I freaking can't. I don't know who's texting me, but they need to stop. Can I say thank you, or is it gonna vibrate again?